we will probably see it coming. So, if I was to specifically talk about COVID claims, we tracked COVID claims along with the graph as far as overall India is concerned. And, it was almost a perfect fit. So our COVID claims also went up as the national graph went up and came down as the national graph came down. So we haven't as yet seen the surge come through in the second wave. The last few days, we've seen a bit of activity, which is probably a little more than normal, but not as intense as what we saw during the peak of the last peak of the COVID virus pandemic. So, but if you look at it, overall from an industry point of view, I don't have the very latest numbers, but my guess is that, COVID claims paid out by the industry have probably crossed 10,000 crores now.
Okay.
So, that's a substantial number. And for some companies which have a large health portfolio, for example, the standalone health insurance companies or some of the general insurance companies which have a large health insurance portfolio, this would have certainly impacted them.
Okay.
The news on that front was that, at least during the lockdown period and probably, till some time back, the number of normal hospitalization claims had actually come down, because, people who were fearful of going to hospitals and who could be treated at home were doing the treatment at home. So unless the illness was very acute, people didn't go to hospitals. So what we saw, during this period was the fact that the amount per claim went up because, only those who were really ill, went to the hospital, and those who could actually afford or could actually be treated at home, avoided going to the hospital. So basically, the procedures in the hospital were therefore more intense, and therefore the, per claim cost actually went up during this period.
Okay. I was just reading that IRDA has extended the corona-specific policies. So that's, that's been really popular. So do you see that being one of the most popular products this coming year as well? New financial year?
Yeah, so I think, I'm not a big fan of disease-specific covers like this, right? Largely because I think, for the same price or similar price, let's not say same price, similar price, I do believe that consumers should actually go in for a much more comprehensive cover. Because, these are very specific covers for certain illnesses, which could probably get sorted out in due course, right? Whereas, if you buy a comprehensive cover, it covers you against a lot more illnesses. And I think this is something which is, a myth that we need to basically sort out. That the fact is that, if you look at the illnesses, renal failure, CVD, the neurosystem led diseases, in terms of numbers are, substantially larger than what we saw even, in the peak of the COVID for COVID itself, right? So there are more people, getting afflicted by, lifestyle diseases and by these kind of diseases even today, than for COVID. So people actually need a more comprehensive cover, is my belief. The second thing is that, these covers, should hopefully get converted into more comprehensive covers. Okay. So that's my hope is that,
has it happened? Have you all seen evidence of that?
It hasn't started happening as yet, but I think we, together, all of us in the insurance industry should look at this as an opportunity, really, to get consumers to take more comprehensive covers. So those who bought these COVID-specific covers, we as an industry should be looking to cross-sell them the more comprehensive covers, because that's what gives them real protection on an ongoing basis. Plus all these preconditions of pre-existing diseases, etc. The earlier they buy it, the better it is. I mean, that's a pretty standard, advice that I keep giving to everybody. But my belief is that, the popularity of the COVID covers, peaked around September, October of last year, and then it kind of came down. The other reason for this is the fact that insurance companies were not able to price these products properly. right? So what happened was that, you see, at the end of the day, you look at a cover that you provide to a consumer and then look at the population that will buy this cover and then say, okay, within this population, this would be the frequency. So, 3% of folks will get impacted by this illness. And the intensity of that, or what we call severity of that, would be, say, for example, 30,000 rupees per on an average, right? So on that basis, you calculate the overall cost and then you calculate the premium. So that's what we call the frequency severity matrix that goes into pricing. Now, in a disease like COVID, which was a first really, in terms of its impact, the insurance companies were not able to estimate that frequency and severity properly. Okay. So either it was overpriced or it was underpriced. I don't think very many got it right. Okay. And those who underpriced it, kind of took a big hit. So what we also saw was that, and you would have probably noticed, is that the early comers who brought in this COVID cover early on actually withdrew this cover sometime in the middle. Right? So I think that is the other issue that we've seen with such covers where you don't have historical evidence and historical data to be able to price these products properly. And I think that is a bigger issue that I see with the disease-specific covers, especially for emerging kind of, newer kind of diseases that are probably going to, come in the future too.
There has been a lot of discussion on health insurance premiums, about the rise in premiums. So what is the, resolution to this? Because claim sizes have gone up, but the customer, cannot end up paying a big big rate when it comes to renewing their existing policy. So what can be done about this?
So I think, first of all, let's understand why these price increases have happened. A lot of times we link these price increases to COVID, which is probably not right? So if you look at data which is collated from the industry point of view by the Insurance Information Bureau, or IIB, over the last 5 to 6 years, there has been on an average every year, the claims have been increasing by about 10% per annum. Right? So that's the size of the claims going up by 10% per annum. Right? However, the prices that, or the premium that has been, kind of fixed for insurance, health insurance, especially for some companies, hadn't changed for 4 to 5 years. Right? Now, this situation came to a head, in the current pandemic, when you had the COVID claims coming through, and at the same time, the pricing of the existing illnesses kind of accentuating that. So really, for a lot of the insurance companies, the health insurance the portfolios became unviable. Right? So therefore, it was required at that point in time to increase it, because at the end of the day, if you don't increase price, eventually your consumers will get impacted, right? Because you won't have enough premium collected for payment of those claims, and that would lead to either withdrawal of the product or a further increase at a later date in time. So probably the timing was such that it got highlighted. But my belief is that even if there had been no COVID and we had been on a BAU kind of a situation, even in that scenario, the premium rates would have gone up. Right? So I think that is the reason why we are seeing the increase in prices. But let's look at what is it that insurance companies can do to be able to manage this better, because at the end of the day, we have to give value to the consumers. Right? So there are a couple of areas through which this can be managed. So the first is if we can actually get more people under the cover. Right? The more people you get under the cover, the expectation is that the proportion of healthy to non-healthy would improve, and therefore the level of claims may actually, in terms of the overall burning cost of that product, it would probably come down, and therefore you can pass on that benefit to the consumers on an across the spectrum by giving lower prices. So that's the first thing, and I think that is probably the biggest or the most practical way of managing premium or cost to consumers, is by actually having more and more consumers covered under this. And if you have more of the younger lot coming into the fold, clearly the frequency and severity that I talked about earlier would be lesser for that segment, right? So therefore it would help in bringing down the overall cost of the insurance to everybody. So that's the first thing that can be done. That's the other piece we have to look at is what is the cost to the insurance company, which needs to be passed on or needs to be kind of covered by the premium. Okay, so the first is of course the claims cost, and we'll talk about it, and the other is the claim settling cost, right, which is basically the management expenses that insurance companies incur to manage those claims. And I think that's another area where we've seen a singular trend of most insurance companies now kind of setting up their in-house TPAs. For example, even in the case of Liberty General Insurance, we have set up our own in-house TPA in Pune, which is called Health 360. The reason we do that is twofold. One, clearly it helps us bring our overall cost of management of those claims down, and we can pass on that benefit to the consumer. And the second is it provides standardization in terms of our ability to manage those claims. And also there is a larger onus on an in-house TPA in terms of managing frauds, right? So that's the second way you bring down the overall cost of health insurance, and that can be passed on. The third is something which I just referred to, which is management of frauds. It's unfortunate that in a country like ours, there is a substantial number of frauds that are unfortunately taking place on regular daily basis. And if we are able to manage those costs, there are various estimates. I mean, I don't think anybody has been able to put a finger on an amount or a percentage of overall claims of which how much are frauds, but there are ballpark numbers anywhere in the region of 8 to 15% of all claims are fraudulent. Right? So just imagine, if you were to cut that down by half, the benefit that can be passed on, and I think that's where insurance companies are actually making a lot more effort. So this is where technology is now coming to start to play. Right? So for example, in our case, what we've done is we have introduced the OCR technology, which basically captures all of the information that comes on a bill, and then we pass it through an artificial intelligence based system, which then starts to identify the various components of that and looks at it and compares it across different categories, and is able to highlight certain claims, saying that this could probably be fraudulent, right? So the use of technology to be able to control frauds is probably another area that insurance companies need to invest in, because the tighter we get on frauds, the more benefit we can pass on to the genuine customers who really need the help and support at that point in time. So that's the third way that we can manage claims. The fourth is a larger issue, which is really in terms of control over the hospitals for standardization of prices for different procedures, right? So that is again an area which today there is no control. I mean, there is no, like we have an insurance regulator in IRDAI, and there is no health regulator for the hospitals. So if that happens and there is some kind of standardization that comes on the price that is charged, or the cost that is charged by the hospitals, that can also help. Another area which can actually help manage this cost better is, if the prevalence of health insurance increases, which means that, the number of patients who are actually paying their bills through health insurance at a hospital goes up. Right? The ability of the insurance companies and the insurance industries to sit at a table with the hospitals and demand, better pricing goes up. Right? So the larger the penetration is of health insurance. So I'll give you the example of Ayushman Bharat. Now, why is Ayushman Bharat, in the case of Ayushman Bharat, they were able to go to the hospitals and tell them that, for this procedure, you can only charge this much, and for this procedure, you can only charge this much, is because it was a very large scale program. And the hospital saw, that a substantial part of their revenue is actually going to come from this program. And therefore, they were able to do that. The other reason why hospitals were able to, bring down their costs, especially for Ayushman Bharat, is also because what happened is suddenly a segment of consumers who would otherwise not have had the ability to pay for their hospitalization in more expensive or more advanced hospitals suddenly had that ability. Okay? So their occupancy rates would have gone up, the usage of their services would have gone up, and that in itself scale would have brought some economies of scale too. So if I was to look at this, from a single lens and say, what's the biggest thing which will help bring costs down for the consumers, it is actually the increase in penetration of health insurance. So if more and more people are brought under the cover and more people get insured, is when the right pricing and correct pricing will start to come.